Hi, thank you for joining me for today's process video, and today is another day in the 30 Days of Sketches with Christie's Beautiful Life. Today's sketch, you can see in the top left hand corner there, is by Diana Vanderleest, and I'm following it fairly closely today actually. I've kept out my Jen Hadfield Groovy Darlin collection on my desk to play with it a little bit more, and I'm documenting a photo of myself and my husband from our holiday to Herm in the Channel Islands last summer in July last year. So I decided that I wanted to, rather than create a border all the way around the page, I wanted to create a border just on two sides. So you can see there, I've cut about a 2-inch strip from two sides of that lovely grid paper, and then I trimmed my white cardstock down to 10.5 inches, and I'm just, oh my goodness, making such a meal of this, trying to work out how to stick this down so that it remains 12 inches. In the end, you'll see now, I add the glue to the pattern paper and then place it onto some white cardstock, which is 12 by 12, and then I can add my other cardstock on, layering it up against the base piece. It's not being stuck down to the base piece, that's just my guide to make sure that I'm 12 by 12 there. So that bit done. Honestly, that was the hardest part of the layout, I swear. I'm now going to use this distressed, what did I call it? It's one of the new Hey Little Magpie stencils. Oh gosh, it's not Distress Sunburst, it's just, it'll come to me in a minute anyway. I'm using that to create the sunburst behind the photo, and I'm starting off with fossilised amber, and then I'm going to come in with saltwater taffy on the tops. I really wanted to create the colours that are in the sky in this photo. We're on our hotel balcony here, we've just had lunch, and the sky is a glorious golden yellow pink. So I really wanted to get those colours into this layout. So just blending with a blending brush. First of all, the fossilised amber going from dark at the very points, right the way through to a paler yellow, and then using the pink at the top, going from dark at the very tips of the shards. That's what it's called. It's called a distressed shards stencil, and then blending that into the yellow. So it just takes a little bit of time to do, but it's well worth it. And that's going to be the base of my photo. Now the photo on the sketch looks like it's a 3x4 portrait. I've gone for a 4x6 landscape. I think I've trimmed it down ever so slightly. I'm not quite sure. It doesn't look quite 4 inches tall, but that's what I'm using today. I didn't really want to make this photo any smaller, and I definitely wanted to use this landscape photo today. So almost there with the ink blending, there we go. And then I can work out what to do next. Now I've purposefully put this offset to the left of the page, and I'm going to offset the photo even further to the left of that starburst, just to get the most of it. And then I'm going to create a couple of shelves that, like you see in the sketch, in the papers in colours that match the photo again. So I've got the blue with the white hearts, and that matches the blue of the sea. And then I've got that gorgeous golden yellow, which I'm going to create the second ledge with. I'm just distressing the edges of the cardstock that's sitting on that pink base and trying to decide exactly how this is going to sit. And then here is the other paper that I'm going to use for the second shelf. So just tearing another wedge of that, I shall curl up the torn edge and set it underneath that blue one. So this golden yellow one I'm going to stretch right the way across the page. It's the full 12 inches, and that brings that white cardstock onto the pink edge of the border that I've created there. And then just trying to work out how far down I can go with that blue so that I can see the maximum amount of my starburst behind my photo. So that's one of the reasons for offsetting it slightly to the left, so that you get to see a little bit more on the right hand side. That said, I do come in with a load of embellishments and cover a lot of it up, but that's all part of the process, isn't it? So now that's down, I need to create the lines that we've got on the sketch, and I'm going to do that with thread. So I'm just going to pull out some tan wax twine, and then I'm going to stitch that through the middle of each of the shards. So starting at the top and then going down into the middle, and then vice versa. You'll see how I do it once I've poked all the holes. I'm just pricking the holes first of all, just with my needle, to make it easier to stitch through. So almost there, just pricking those holes around the semicircle in the bottom of the shards. And this is where I start. So I'm just going to thread it through and add some tape to hold it in place, and then come up through from the bottom and down through the top, and then up through the top and down through the bottom. It's the most economic way to use your thread so that you're not wasting loads on the back of the layout. And I'll go all the way around and then snip it off. You can see I had to replace my thread halfway through, so that's why there's so much tape on the background. So the photo is going to sit like that. I do want to mat it onto some white cardstock just to get that nice definition around the edge of the photo. And I also wanted to bring in some of that lovely washi tape that I'd used to stick the threads down with. It's a really nice white with black hearts on, so I just thought it would be lovely along here. So I tore it off the length that I wanted, and then I'm just peeling it back to add some glue behind it. Washi tape doesn't stick long term, so I just wanted to add a little bit down there. And then I decided that I wanted to add a thread along that washi tape as well, just to mimic the thread that I've got in those shards. So it's building up this shelf really nicely. So the next thing to do once that's done is to start embellishing. I need to sort out the photo first. So just sticking the ends of that thread down again, just to hold them into place. And then here I am with my white card just to map that photo onto. And I just want a very thin border around the edge. I don't want to add too much bulk because I don't want to lose any more of that lovely shard that I've created, the sunburst. So there it is. So it's going to sit slightly more to the left like that. And I found this Sunny Days Ahead banner, which I thought was just perfect as my title. So I'm going to add that to the right of the photo. And it'll overlap onto Ross's shirt slightly, but that's fine. And then I'm just going to look for some other bits that I can add to further embellish. So I'll just get this title stuck down first because I know that I definitely want that to go there. And then there's this lovely heart. It's going to go behind the title there. And then I start going through everything else that's in this tray. So I've got the stickers in this sticker book, and then all the other pieces in that tray. So I find this little word that says sunshine on my mind, or phrase sticker that says sunshine on my mind. And then there's another little red one that I find that I'm going to add to that heart. It just says hello, and it matches. My dress is actually orange, but it looks red in this photo, so that matches really nicely. So just finding some other bits to add. This little sort of tan coloured heart, I am going to move that shortly because I find something else to add to that area. And then I'm into the stickers, the clear stickers, and this piece says better together. So I'm just going to pop that above the heart in the end. I try it there, but I decide that I want to add it above the heart. And then I try it down there. It does get moved. I love this little sprig of flowers. So I'm going to add that next to the heart. Here's that better together. It wasn't the better together that I was sticking before. Sorry about that. It's masked by a piece that goes on my phone screen when I'm editing. It's a little cluster of 3 flowers that I thought looked nice underneath the shelf there. And then a butterfly. And I want to bring something else in to bring this layout more onto the pink grid border that I've got. So I'm just trying a few different things to see what will work. I like the idea of that flower, but it's too small. But I do find another cluster shortly, and that's going to be added. Try this little paper circle, and that's a bit better, but still not quite right. And here's the cluster I'm going to use. So I should use that there, and then I'll bring in the other one just above like that. So I'm going to add that cluster to foam and then stick that smaller one straight onto the layout. And that tucks nicely behind that white card as well. So here are my foam pads. So while I'm doing this, don't forget to check the playlist below to see everybody else who's joining in. It should be growing daily. I know I've had a few problems trying to add to the playlist, but hopefully other people are managing to add to it, and you can see all their beautiful creations there. So this is a puffy heart from one of the Hey Little Magpie embellishment boxes. So I'm just going to pop that there, and I've moved that tan heart over slightly just to accommodate it underneath that little floral sprig there. So very nearly there now. Just looking to see what else I can add, and I decide that I want to add a cluster at the top here. I really enjoy that diagonal, either top left to bottom right or top right to bottom left. So I've just cut that flower in half, and that's going to be the base for my cluster here. I find this lovely title that says Hey Darlin, which works nicely, and then this little sprig of flowers to finish it off. So those three are going to be added up there. I'm not adding any dimension, I'm just going to glue them straight down to the page. And then once those are down, no sunset would be complete without some gold splatters. So I'm going to grab for my gold watercolour paint, just to add some water to activate it, and then add a few splatters around that sunburst, and then a tiny bit underneath the photo. And that's it, that's the layout done. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope I've provided some inspiration. I shall see you again soon. Bye.